Hello, you glorious over 3,000 people and the 83% who have yet to subscribe. It's another faction pack time, and this time we're delving deep into the Ossiarch Bonereapers. That's right, the Ossiarch Bonereapers, the undead Stormcast. Sort of. If you read this story, it's Nagashi's way of making his own. It's kind of annoyed. So basically, the Ossiarch Bonereapers are pretty cool. They're a quite nice faction, nice model range. Kind of come out in, I'm going to say, 3rd edition. Maybe second. I think a second. Actually, probably. They've been out a while. And basically, they're an undead amalgamation of bone and souls to create the perfect undead warriors. Absolutely beautiful range and pretty simple to paint with some contrast paints with the skeleton horde and a little bit of a dry brush. But I digress. Let's talk battle traits. So they have a number of battle traits which we talked about in the faction focus, and they are essentially like the order system for the cities of Sigmar. So we've got a couple that you can do. You can got 2 that you can do in your movement phase, 2 in your charge phase, and 2 in your combat phase. So, first one for the movement phase, the unstoppable advance. If no friendly units have used a relentless discipline ability, this is what these are called. This phase, pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper hero to use this ability, and all friendly Bonereapers units wholly within 12 inches of that hero are the target. So then you add 2 to the move for each move characteristics of each target for the rest of the turn. It's pretty good. Now, what I like about these is that it's multiple units that are affected, not just one unit like the Cities of Sigmar. So 2-inch move, pretty decent. Well, it's not 3 inches, but 2 inches, not too bad. Reform ranks is your next one. So again, if no friendly units have used the Relentless Discipline ability this phase, pick a friendly Ossiarch unit's hero to use this ability. Effect for the rest of the turn, while they are wholly within 12 inches of that hero, friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units can use charge abilities even if they use a retreat ability. Quite nice. Now, bearing in mind, you do have a thing like a ward save and stuff like that. So you can, you're a little bit resilient than other armies. So retreating is not much of a worry sometimes, but being able to retreat and then charge back in later on could be nice. There might even be abilities on War Scrolls that buff charging that would want you to fall out of combat and then charge back in. So your charge phase is a coordinated charge. If no friendly units have used a Relentless Discipline ability this phase, pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper hero to use this ability. For the rest of this turn, add 1 to the charge rolls for friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this hero. What's that? We have synergy between the movement and the charge phase abilities. Amazing. Any charge phase, Counter-Strike. So if no friendly units have used a Relentless Discipline ability this phase, pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper hero to use this ability. For the rest of the turn, friendly units melee weapons have anti-charge +1 rend while they are wholly within 12 inches of that hero. This is really strong because, as you can see, Cassie really likes it because she's barking in the background. But this is really strong because you've got anti-charge +1 rend, and it's any charge phase. So if you know you're about to get charged, you can pop this and get +1 rend on your units, which is quite nice. So then you've got any combat phase. Bludgeon, so again, no friendly units have used a Relentless Discipline ability this phase. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper hero, and then for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the wound rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units while they are wholly within 12 inches of that hero. Really solid. +1 to wound is really nice. Any wound, the last one is, again, no units, pick a hero, you know the score. For the rest of the turn, friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers have a 5-up ward while they hold you within 12 inches of this hero. That's really good as well. Some really nice ones, and it really sort of you can see where these buffs are coming. And obviously, they're the movement ones are your movement phase, but then the rest of them are any charge phase and any combat phase, which is really good because you're going to be able to do them in your opponent's turn, which is so solid. Next up, we have the all-important battle formation rules. I've said it in every video. These are some of your most important rules in all of the faction packs, because this will dictate how you build your army. And there's no exceptions here. So the first one is we have the Mortician Council. It is a passive ability. We love passive abilities here. Passive abilities are just fire and forget. You just turn it on and you just don't have to worry about it for the rest of the game. This one adds +1 to casting rolls for friendly Ossiarch, Bonereaper, and infantry wizards. +1 to cast is solid. Coffee is also solid, especially after the night shift. That's really good. +1 to cast is something I really like. And you have a lot of wizards. You're an undead army. You're going to have a lot of wizards in your army. So having an army-wide buff to +1 to cast is pretty good. But we'll check out the magic later on in this video. Mtech Ballista Starry. So this is obviously done in your shooting phase. Okay. Pick 3 friendly Mtech Crawlers. If you like Mtech Crawlers and you're going to bring them, here's a faction formation for you. That are wholly within friendly territory and that have not used a move ability this turn. So basically, you've got to be in your territory, which is pretty easy to do, and you can't move. Okay. Add 1 to the hit rolls for each of the target shooting attacks for the rest of the turn. +1. Okay, we're going to check them out later, and we'll keep this in mind when we come to look at them. The Cavalos Lance, surprise, surprise, this is for your horses, and once per battle, army deployment phase. Pick up the 3 Ossiarch Bonereapers cavalry units to be the targets. Each target can move 6 inches. That cannot end the move in combat. So basically, in the deployment phase, just before the game starts, you get to move 6 inches. And it is only once per battle. So, free 6-inch scout move, effectively. Not bad. And then finally, you've got the Mtech Phalanx, once per turn in your movement phase. Pick a friendly Mtech Guard unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Then roll the dice on a 5+, set that replacement. Now this is really quite nice because it's your movement phase once per turn. Sorry, not our army, not battle, once per turn. So in your movement phase, you're going to be able to roll the dice for any of your Mtech Guard, which are your basic infantry unit. And then on a 5+, you can bring those half back, rounding up, and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. That's really good. So you're an undead army, and you're going to be able to replen your basic units. Pretty decent. For me, I love the +1 to cast. If you like horses, there's one there. If you like crawlers, there's another one. But I can see Mtech Phalanx or the Council being the 2 primary ones that people will be using. Next up, we have hero traits and artifacts of power. So again, these are the items, the little rules that you put onto your non-unique heroes. So first things first, we have a passive ability. We love it. Diversionary tactics. So subtract 2 from charge rolls for enemy units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That's pretty good. Well, it's not even wholly, it's within, so you just have to tag that unit within 12 inches, and they're -2 to their charge ranges. That's pretty good, and that could be really key to later on games, and especially if you're playing something like a Stormcast Eternal Army that can drop down 9 inches away from you. You know, that 9-inch charge now turns into an 11-inch charge. That's really quite a nice defensive ability against that sort of thing. The Gaunt Summoner is still going to skew you a little bit because they can drop a unit within 7 inches. So they will be looking for at least a 9-inch charge. So you kind of push it back to normal because a 7-inch charge is obviously a lot easier to hit than a 9. But this really puts out those realms of possibility of ever going to happen. Next one, you have another passive ability, which is great. Aura of the Sterility. Words, Games Workshop. Subtract 1 from wound rolls for shooting attacks that target friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this hero. -1 wound. Like after my last game, the first game I played when I played Nurgle, that had the ability to put -1 wound on units, really is strong. So strong, especially if a lot of shooting is wounding on 4s. Knocking that up to a 5 really changes how things work, and that is really, really, really strong. And then passive, you've got another one, a Mighty Archozarzian passive ability. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack that targets this unit is a 1 or 3, the attack fails and the sequence ends. Now, just to clarify, anything that says attack is on about the 1 dice roll, not all. So if I hit you with 6 attacks and I roll a 1, and then everything else is a 4+, only that one fails. The rest of them don't, all right? The rest of them don't. So this is basically going to affect models that are hitting on 2s and hitting on 3s. So if you roll a 2 or a 3 and you need a 2 or a 3 to hit, and you're attacking this target model, then you fail. They fail to hit. Okay? So it's pretty good. It's essentially a -2 to hit. Artifacts of power. Once per battle, any combat phase. For the rest of the turn, if the unmodified hit rolls for a combat attack that target this model is a 1 or a 2, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fights have been resolved. Again, quite similar to that ability. And this is quite a nice little combo. You could put that hero trait onto your hero and give them this artifact of power. So not only are you going to be minus, so basically you can't be hit unless it's a 4+, okay? But also that in your turn, okay, so it's once per battle, so you can pop this once per battle. If the unmodified hit roll for a combat attack that targets this unit is a 1 and a 2, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit for the fight. So not only are they needing force to hit you, but if they roll any 1s and 2s during that, then it does mortal wound back to them. It is only once per battle, and it is in the combat phase, but that's quite a nice little combo there, and that would be kind of funny. Next, we have the Load of Saturation, so you basically give the unit a 5 ward save, and then the Helm of Tyranny, subtract 2 from control scores for enemy units while they're holding within 12 inches of this. Some pretty decent ones, some quite nice ones there, actually. I really quite like the tactical one, -2 charge, because that really, it's 12-inch bubble, it's not wholly within 12 inches, and you can really shut down deep striking armies that are trying to come in within 9 to then charging, which is really solid. Next up, we have the spell laws. So we got 3 spells, of course. You've got your hero face spell, all in the hero face. We got the first one, empowered Naderite weapons on a 5+. If you've got obviously your battle formation, you're potching this out on a 4. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers wizard to cast this spell. Pick a friendly visible Ossiarch Bonereapers unit within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a dice roll of 2d6. Needing a 5, possibly a 4. The target combat attacks score critical hits on unmodified hit rolls of 5+ until the start of the next turn. Nice. So this arm is probably going to have a lot of critical effects on hitting on their weapons, probably critical mortals, double hits, even auto wounding. So this is popping it off on a 5 rather than a 6. That's pretty solid, especially if the army has a lot of that. Next, we have Drain Vitality, which is cast on a 7, potentially a 6. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches of them to be the target. Make a casting roll. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's attacks and subtract 1 for the save rolls for the target. Wow, nice. So, not only are you going to make them harder to hit, but you're also going to make them easier to kill, which means that if you've got the 2 CP, you could come in with a counter charge and charge them, and then give them some hurt. Really good spell. Shard Storm. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers wizard. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches. Make a casting roll. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the target unit, and every 5+, inflict a mortal damage. That's quite nice. I like spells like that. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Target a unit, do some damage. Pretty cool. Nice utility, a bunch of spells. You've got a couple of you've got a buff spell, you've got a debuff spell, and you've got a damage spell. It's a good set of spells. Okay, so obviously the Ossiarch Bonereapers have a manifestation law, and here they are here. So they've got the Summon the Soul Stealer Carrion, the Summon the Nightmare Predator, and Summon the Bone Tithe Shrieker. Now, they're pretty much relatively the same. Obviously, they're all casting on 6. You obviously pick a Bonereapers wizard to cast them, and the only real difference with the effects is the Soul Stealer Carrion has to be set up wholly within 12 inches of the caster, and visible to them, and more than 9 inches from enemy units. The Nightmare Predator has to be set up wholly within 12 inches of the caster and 9 inches from enemy units. And again, the Bone Tithe Shrieker is the same, 12 inches away from the caster and 9 inches from enemy units. But we will have a look at those war scrolls as we progress. Okay, so our manifestations, the Nightmare Predator, it is a manifestation, it flies, it's a 6-up ward, and obviously, you know, you don't pay points for these anymore. Has a 5-up health, it moves 8, has a health of 7 and a banishment of 7, and it has the Lacerating Claws, 6 attacks, 4s, followed by 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage, and then end of any turn, if this manifestation was destroyed or banished this turn, and the unit that summoned it is on the battlefield, roll a dice on a 4+, set up the manifestation again, wholly within 12 inches of this unit, summoned it, and more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. That's so funny. Oh, I got rid of your manifestation. No, you didn't. Yeah, I like that, and it's pretty cool as well. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool looking weird undead skeleton thing, which is kind of nice. Okay, so we got the Soul Stealer Carrion. It is the scary ghosty bird. Again, it flies as a 6-up ward. 5-up save, movement of 10, health of 7, banishment of 7. And it has its Spectral Claws and Beaks. 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 1 rend, D3 damage. And it has a passive ability. Subtract 5 from the control scores of any infantry units while they are within 6 inches of this manifestation. Yeah, this is how you take big objectives away from things. Fly in there and subtract 5. It's really kind of cool as well. Kind of like that. The next up, we have the Bone Tithe Shrieker. It flies, ward of 6 up, and it has a 5-up save, movement 8, health of 7, banishment of 7. And it has Soul Rending Shriek, 12-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, -1 rend, D3 damage. Can shoot into combat. Pretty handy. And then it has its Soul Rending Shriek in combat, so 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, -1 rend, D3 damage. Pretty good. Then it has a passive ability, No Escape. Subtract 1 from ward rolls for enemy units while they're wholly within, not wholly, just within 12 inches of this manifestation. -1 ward is pretty strong, especially if you're coming up against another death army, which is probably going to have a death ward, probably of 6+. You can throw this out into the lines, especially where your army's going to be hitting, and just knock off that ward save completely. Because if they've got a 6-up ward save and they become -1, they don't have a ward save anymore, because they don't have a ward save of 7. Pretty good. Yeah, some nice ones. I really like the close combat one, to be fair. That's pretty decent. Okay, time to look at the big Supreme Lord of Death, the God of Death himself. That is Nagash. And Nagash will come in at a whopping 880 points. Not to be sniffed at. Now, Nagash is obviously a War Master. He's unique. He's a hero. He's a monster. He's a Wizard 9. He flies, and he has a ward save of 5+. He has a save of 3+. He moves 10. He has 18 wounds, and he has a control of 10. Whew! He's a big boy, and he's got a lot of shenanigans. So he has a couple of melee weapons. He has the Alkanazash, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, and D6 damage, no abilities. And he has Zebat Nebatra, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, 3 damage. So he's not to be sniffed at in combat. He's going to be able to pump out some damage. He's not Archeon, but he's able to do some dams. Obviously, if the Battle Wizard, if he's battle damaged, while this unit has 10 or more damage points, subtract 3 from its power level. So you don't lose attacks, you just lose your power spells. So he'll basically, if you start putting 10 more damage onto him, he'll do 6 spells to you rather than 9. So he has a couple of passive abilities here. He also has the Staff of Power. So add 2 to the casting rolls for this unit while it has not miscast any spells this turn. If this unit miscasts a spell, ignore the restrictions that would stop this unit from casting any more spells this turn. That's really good. This used to be a big thing for Nagash in 3rd edition. Like, he'd have 9 spells. If you roll a miscast, you pretty much stopped casting there and then. And it was really funny if it was, like, done on the 2nd or, like, 3rd. Sometimes even better if it was on the 1st one. He was just like, nah. But obviously, this is ignoring the restrictions. and that would stop this unit from casting any more spells. So if you miscast, you miscast. You just continue going. So once per turn, army, any end of any turn, pick a visible enemy hero or monster in combat with this unit to be the target. Hide a dice in one of your hands. The good old hand of dust. Gotta love this. It's so good, and it's such a classic rule, and I'm so glad that we've now still got it in 4th edition, when this basically was deemed some of the silliness of Age of Sigmar when Age of Sigmar come out back in 1st edition. So, your opponent must pick one of the hands or containers. If they pick the one hiding the dice, this ability has no effect. If they pick the empty one, the target is automatically destroyed. So you have to find the dice. If they find the dice, they win. If they don't find the dice, they lose. And the unit is destroyed. Yes, that is a hero and monster. Yes, unless Archeon has a rule that says that can't happen to him, yes, you can hand of dust his ass off the board. Yeah, it's such a funny ability, and it's such a Nagash thing, so it's really quite nice to see that it's still here. Next up, we have once per battle, your hero phase, Supreme Lord of the Undead. Declare, pick a friendly, non-hero, non-unique death unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Set up a replacement unit identical to that target unit, wholly within 12 inches of this unit, and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So it's once per battle. So if you lose a key hero, that's not if you lose a friendly unit that's not a hero and not a unique unit, okay, you can bring that back. So if you lose 20 Mtech Guard, you can bring those 20 Mtech Guard back. That's really kind of nice, and it's kind of something that you expect. The guy is the Lord of Death, after all. So, he has a spell, Invocation of Nagash, casts on a 7. Yes, he will be affected by the Battleforge formation, so he will be casting this on a 6 if you pick the +1 to cast. If the target is the enemy unit, declare this unit can cast this spell more than once per game. Brilliant. Pick a visible unit wholly within 18 inches of that unit that has not been picked to be the target of this spell. This turn to be the target, and then make a casting roll of 2d6. Needing the 6 or, well, let's be fair. You're going to be needing a 4, right? So he's got +2 to cast for himself, and then you potentially, if you put him in an ability in the battle formation with +1, he's getting +3 to cast. It's just crazy. So if the target has an enemy unit, inflict D3 mortal damage on it. If the target is a friendly death unit, pick one of the following. Return a number of slain models to the target unit with a combined health characteristic of up to 3. The target is a 5 ward save until the start of the next turn. So you're doing damage to enemies, replen to your own units, or buffing them as well. So yeah, Nagash is an all-rounder, pretty solid 880 piece of your army, but he can be killed. Next up, we have the true centerpiece of the army, Katakros. And he comes in at 500 points. And he's a beautiful model. So Katakros obviously is a War Master. He's unique. He's a hero. He's an infantry. And he has a 6-up ward save. 3-up save, 4 move, 20 health, more health than Nagash, and a control of 5. Now, he has his Induknat sword, which starts with 5 attacks, but if you put damage onto him, can drop down to 3. He has 3s and 3s, -2 rend, 3 damage, crit 2 hits. That's nice. Now, the Shield of Immortalis, so 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, 2 damage. And then Retinue Blades, 10 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage, crit, 2 hits. Pretty solid. Now, he is a Mortak. He is the Mortak of the Bonereapers. And he has a passive ability, Mtech of the Necropolis. If this unit uses the Relentless Discipline ability, this ability affects friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units wholly within 18 inches of this unit instead of wholly within 12 inches. That is huge. So huge and really good. Once per turn reaction, opponent declares a command ability for a unit within 18 inches of this unit. Roll a dice. On a 5+, that command has no effect. It still counts as having been used, and the command point is lost. This is amazing. I like this. Now, I think it should be, obviously, a 4+, but it's wholly within 18 inches. This ability, even though it's a 5+, is still better than the command core for the Cities of Sigmar. I like that. Cities of Sigmar one's really bad. But this is really good. And then he's got Prime and Necropolis, so add 3 to the control scores of friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units while they are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. That's really good. And then obviously he is the Supreme Lord of the Bonereapers Legions. Pick up the 3 friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers units wholly within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the save rolls for the target while they are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. +1 save is really good, and it's just 1 CP, so you're starting off the turn with 4, potentially 5 if your opponent brings any auxiliaries. So you know, in your hero phase, pop 1 CP, all Ossiarch Bonereapers unit off 3 units within 18 inches of you, wholly within, are getting +1 save. That's really good. Really, really good. And he's only 500 points, so he's actually affordable to get into your army. And then still means that your army is pretty big. So yeah, I like Katakros, and he's a beautiful model as well. So if you are a Bonereapers collector, you're going to want to have Katakros. He's a model that I've always wanted to paint. But yeah, if I did an undead army, Bonereapers are probably maybe the one that I would probably do. Next up we have Aron the Mother Trucker the Black. He is the man, the legend, the most annoying wizard that used to be in 3rd edition. I used to hate seeing Aron. He was so infuriating, and it's because of his curse of years, and it's still here. This guy's still going to troll me even in 4th edition. He comes in at 410 points, which is pretty good. So, he obviously he's a War Master, he's unique, he's a hero, he's a wizard. He has a 5-up ward save. 6-up ward save, and he's a spells of a 3. He's a wizard 3. 3-up save, pretty decent. He's got 12 move. He's got a health of 14 and a control of 5. And he's also the Mortrack of the Sanctum. Now, some would argue, why is he in the Ossiarch Bonereapers army when he's been around Nagash since day 1? Should he not be in like a Soulblight army or something like that? Well, the Soulblights are the vampires. Maybe he should be in the Nighthaunt, but they have their own Mortarch. The Flesh Eater Courts have their own Mortarch. He's kind of like Archeon's right-hand guy, so that's why he kind of fits in. Personally, I think Aron the Black should be like Nagash. He should fit into all of the undead armies, because he is literally Nagash's right-hand dude, and just like Nagash, who can join all of the undead factions. Aron the Black should as well, so it would make sense. But I think, because like it kind of takes away from Katakros, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we digress. He has his swords. I'm not even going to try to pronounce them because they're big words and they're all letters, and I'm not even convinced they're actual words. He has 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, crit 2 hits, pretty decent. And then he has his Ebon Claws for his big weird mount. 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage companions, and obviously they drop from 6 to 4 if you put 10 damage onto him. Then he has his first, the passive ability, so he has add 1 to the casting rolls for this unit each time this unit actually casts a spell, and heal this unit 1. So he heals himself every time he casts a spell. Nice. Once per turn army, any combat phase, the Doom of Traders. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. Roll a d3, 2+, inflict equal amounts of mortal damage to the roll. If the target is a hero, double the damage. Nice, that's cool. So potential 6 mortal damage onto a hero. And in some cases that would kill a hero, because not all heroes have more than 6 damage, some health. Then you have a reaction. Opponent declares a spell ability. If a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit is wholly within 18 inches of this unit was picked to be the target of the spell, roll a dice on a 4+. Ignore the effects of the spell on that unit. This can use this ability more than once per phase, but only once per spell. That's really good. Like, that is really good. You can just literally go, no, you're not casting it on that. No, you're not. That's solid. I hate him. Right, and then obviously the spell that really breaks people is Curse of Years. Cast on a 6, cast on a 5, potentially. Wow. You could pretty much cast this on a 3. hate him. Right, pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this target to be the unit, then roll a 2d6. Roll 10 dice. For each 6, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Roll an extra dice. For each 5+ on those, extra dice, repeat the above bullet point. Then do the same on a 4, then a 3, then a 2. So basically, you need 6s. So you start off with 6s. So you roll 10 dice, and then all the 6s, you roll them again, and then you need 5s. Then you roll them again, then you need 4s. So basically, your dice pool slowly starts getting smaller. But eventually, you're down to like a 2+. So you could end up in 1 dice just constantly rolling 2s. And each time you're doing a mortal damage. And you keep doing this until you roll a 1. I have had this done to me, and I've watched a huge unit just disappear and die. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you fail to dispel this, there is nothing you can do about it at all. And then you can just watch a unit just disappear. It's so frustrating. This is why I hate the guy. I absolutely hate him. But it's Aron the Black, man. You know, you gotta love to see it. You gotta love to hate him. It's a love-hate relationship. Next, we have the character model Arch Cavalos Zandosis, or however you pronounce his name. And he comes in at 230 points. He's basically a unique hero, Cavalry, 6-up ward. 3-up save, moves 10, health of 8, and control of 2. So basically, when you buy the Mounted Lord, you can either build a generic one, or you can build this guy. Okay? So he has a Dark Lance, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, 2 damage. Crit, 2 damage, and then he has charge, +1 damage, nice, and then crit to hits on 2+. And then he's horsey, which is pretty much a standard profile for a horse at this stage. Passive, Spear of the Cavalos. When this unit uses a charge ability, it can pass through models in enemy infantry units as if it had the fly keyword. Pretty cool. Unstoppable charge. If this unit charges this phase, pick an enemy unit, infantry unit that it passed across, and then on a D3, inflict, on a 2+, inflict the amount of damage equal to the roll. It's a standard rule now. Once per battle, any combat phase, still their breath. If this unit is combat, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly non-Ossiarch Bonereapers units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. So it's pretty decent. I mean, he's a character model, and he's pretty good. Yeah, if you're going to go for a heavy cavalry army, you want this guy in your army, leading a lot of Cavalos Death Riders. The next named character we have is Mortis, and he comes in at a 190 points. So he is obviously a Wizard 2, a Ward of 6, Save of 4, Move of 5, Health of 5, Control of 2, and he has the Gaze of Death ranged ability, 12 range, 1 attack, 3s, 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage. Can't even shoot in combat. It's okay. Staff of Retribution, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, crit 2 hits. Got a feeling crit 2 hits is going to be a thing for this army. So he has a once per battle, any hero phase, Voice of Nagash, pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches to be the target. For the rest of the turn, non-fight core abilities cost 1 command point for the target to use. That's so funny. Oh, what's that? You're in combat? Yeah, it's going to cost you a CP. He also has a spell, casting on a 7, so Mortal Contract. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the bond. Pick a visible friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit wholly within 18 inches of this unit to be the bond. And then make a casting roll of 2d6. Until the start of your next turn, each time this bond-friendly unit is picked to be the target of an ability used by the bond enemy unit, on a d3, roll a d3, and on a 2+, inflict equal mortal damage equal to the on the enemy unit equal to the roll. If the bond enemy unit is destroyed by this ability, do not resolve the effects of the enemy abilities. Okay, so you can kind of do additional damage, and yeah, that's okay. It's all right. Next up, we have the Liege Cavalos, the non-unique version of the mounted heroes. and he is coming in at 210 points. He's obviously a hero, 6-up ward, 3-up save, movement 10, 7 health, 2 control, and he has the Commander's Blade, 5 attacks, 3 to the 3s, -1 rend 2 damage, charge 1 +1 damage, and then crits 2 hits. And then he has Cavalos Steed and Hooves, Teeth and Bard, standard hoof, horsey profile. So he has obviously a passive ability. So again, just like the character version, when this unit uses a charge ability, he can pass through enemy units as if he flowed, and then also he can also do that in any charge phase, doing the damage and the mortal damage onto them. But he also has a reaction. So pick a friendly Cavalos Death Riders unit that has not used the fight ability this turn and is within the unit's combat range of the target. So this is basically just like the Soul Reaper. The target can be picked to use a fight ability immediately after the fight ability used by this unit has been resolved. Now, there is no buff to this. Just basically, if you have a Cavalos unit within combat range, you declare a fight, you're going to be able to fight with them straight away. So a bit like the Chaos Lord, but doesn't have a buff, which is a little bit sad. It would have been nice to see a little bit of a buff to that. Maybe like +1 to hit, +1 to move, and even +1 attack. Would have been quite nice, but it's not there, which is a shame. Next up, we have the Boneshaper. And the Boneshaper is coming in at 140 points, so pretty cheap. He's a Wizard 1, he has a ward of 6, 4 save, 5 move, 5 health, control 2, and ossified talons, 3 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend 2 damage, crits 2 hits. And he has once per turn, your hero phase. Shape Boneshaper. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3+. If the target is damaged, heal 3 to the target. If the target is not damaged, return a number of slain models to the target unit with the combined health characteristics of 3+. You are going to want one of these in your army. Why? Because you can bring models back and you can heal big models. Seriously important and really cheap at 140 points as well. Really, really quite nice. Yeah, solid. You're going to want one of these in your army. Next up, we have one of the newer heroes to the Ossiarch Bonereapers, and it's the Mortis of Ossifier. And he comes in at 120 points. So cheap. Wizard 1, and he has a ward of 6. All right. And he has a save of 4, 5, 5, and 2. Pretty much standard hero sort of stat line that you kind of see. And he has ossified talents. So he's basically like the Boneshaper. In fact, his attack profile is exactly the same. But he has a slightly different rule. So he has Reinfined Creation. So you pick a friendly Gothzar Harvester, Margast Archai, or Hagast Harbinger's unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll a dice. On a 3+, add 1 to the rend characteristics of that target's melee weapons until the start of your next turn. So he basically is going to be, but now the Morghast guys are the really big. They kind of come from the Warhammer Fantasy Battle End Times. They kind of come into the Undead, and then they kind of got moved over into the Ossiarch Bonereapers when the Ossiarch Bonereapers come out. They're kind of like the flying big guys. They have these big massive weapons. They're pretty cool, and you basically, this unit is going to give them the +1 rend. The Gothazar Harvester is like your harvester units. They kind of do damage, and you do damage and kill things around them, and then they can't start spitting out new Ossiarch Bonereapers. So giving on a 3+, giving one of those +1 rend is pretty decent, and he's 120 points, and he's basically a 1-cast wizard, which is kind of handy. So you maybe want to have one of them, maybe, or you're just going to bring an additional Boneshaper. Next up, we have the Mortis and Soul Reaper. I love this model. He's so cool, and the Soul Reaper comes in at 140 points. He's such a beautiful model. Obviously, he's a hero Wizard 1 and a ward of 6. And again, he has the same stat line as the other 3 foot heroes, the other 2. But he has a Soul Reaper side. He has 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -2 rend, 2 damage, crit, 2 hits. Yeah, okay. He has a big ass side, but I would have expected a little bit better, maybe to hit on 3s, wound on 3s. But he has a passive ability, Soul Reaper. So subtract 1 from room rules for combat attacks made by enemy units while they are in combat with this unit. That's pretty good. It's going to be a hero that leads from the front. And then reaction, you declared a fight ability for this unit. So pick a friendly non-heroes Ossiarch Bonereapers infantry unit that has not used a fight ability this turn and is within the combat range of the target. The target can be picked to fight immediately after the fight ability used by this unit has been resolved. If it is picked to do so, add 1 to hit rolls. Right, this is pretty important. So, this is going to affect your things like your Stalkers, your Guard, your Mtech Guard, basically any infantry it's going to affect. Now, some of these are probably going to be hitting on 4s, so you're going to be able to pop off that +1 to hit, and it's really quite nice. You'll see a lot of this now in factions where, especially in Slaves to Darkness, they had a hero that basically did these buffs to certain units. You had cavalry units that did it to the cavalry. You had it doing to the Varan Guard. You had them doing to Chaos Warriors. It's kind of nice, and they all had different ones. It was either +1 attack, +1 to hit, or +1 to wound. It's really cool. I kind of like it, and I hope it really carries over into the battle tomes. But yeah, you're potentially going to want one of these to sort of go into combat with your bigger units, your more combat units, but we'll have a look at them when we get to them. Is he going to survive, though? That's the problem. He only has 5 health and a 4-up save and a 6-up ward. That's your problem. If he had a 3-up save, right, and he was a little bit more beefier, then maybe. But yeah. So next up we have the Saul Mason, and this guy is coming in at a lovely 160 points. He has pretty much the same stat line as the other heroes, but he has an additional health point, and he has a Wizard 1, a ward of 6. So he has a couple of weapons. He has his staff, which is 3 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1 rend, d3 damage, crit 2 hits, and then his chair has his claw attacks, 2 attacks, 5s and 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage, companion. Then he has a really cool spell, casting on a 7. So you pick a visible, friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit wholly within 12 inches of the caster, roll 2d6, casting on a 7, potentially a 6, and then that target has a strike first for the turn. This is really cool, especially if you combo this in with the Soul Reaper. So you could cast this on the Soul Reaper. The Soul Reaper then gets strike first, does his attacks, making sure that he's within 3 inches of a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers infantry unit, and then they can immediately attack. So you can see how that is a really nice combo that you could potentially do with this model. The only downside is you are going to want him to be quite far up the line, but he is a wizard, which is not too bad. Next up, we have one of the warbands that survived the cull, and it's the Pteractic Cohort. 140 points for 8 models. So they have an infantry champion, they have a 6-up ward, health of 2 each, movement of 7, save of 4, and a control of 1. So the unit basically has a number of options. So each model in this unit is armed with claws and talons, and then the champion is a Cavalos Centuri and must replace the claws and talons with a Pterac weapon. And then 2 out of the 8 models in the unit are Mtech Cryptoptics and must replace their claws and talons with Tetractic weapons. So the weapons are 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage, crit 2 hits. And then claws and talons, which is 2s, 4s, 3s, no rend, 1 damage, companions. Okay, so they have a couple of abilities. So deployment phase. This unit has not been deployed, can be set up in reserve and outflanking the enemy. It is now being deployed. So you've got an outflank unit here for the Ossiarchs. And then the movement phase, pick this enemy unit to do the outflank. Set this unit up anywhere on the battlefield, more than 9 inches from all enemy units. It's an outflank ability that can pop up anywhere. It's pretty good. Maybe you'd probably use them. Next up, we have the Mtech Guard, your basic infantry unit, and a unit that you're probably going to use a lot of, to be completely fair. And the Mtech Guard are going to come in at 130 points for 10. They've got a 4-up save. They move 4 because you're undead. You've got a 1 health and 1 control. And they've got nanorite weapons. Now, these can be affected by all of the other buffs. They've got 2 attacks, hitting on 3s. Again, potentially getting that to hit onto 2s. And you can also have ways of improving that wound of 4+ to a 3+. They have no rend, but you can give them rend and +1 damage. And then anti-charge +1 rend. Anti-charge built in straight away is really nice. And then crit 2 hits. They have shield wall. So ignore all modifiers to saving rolls for this unit, positive and negative, for the rest of the turn if this unit did not use a move ability this turn. That is so good. So don't get onto an objective, don't move. You have a 4-up save no matter what. Doesn't matter what the shooting or the attacks coming in at you. Positive and a negative. But that also means that you can't all-out attack, all-out defense and push yourself down to a 3. All right? You're always going to have a 4-up save. Not bad. I'd probably take a big block of 20 because they would probably be a really good top hit unit. Okay, so we have the Immort Guard. The Immort Guard are pretty cool. They're like the elite sort of big skeleton guys. Come in with the dual kit with the Stalkers. And the Immort Guard come in at 200 points for 3. They've got a 6-up ward. They've got a 3-up save, move 5, health of 4, control of 1. They've got the Dread Halberds. They've got 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, crit 2 hits. That's pretty solid. Bear in mind, again, your hits and the wounds can be changed. So they got passive. So add 1 to the ward rolls for friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper heroes within this unit's combat range. So remember that Soul Reaper that you'll want to be pushed forward? He now has a 5-up ward save. However, each time you make a ward roll of a 1 for a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper's hero within this unit's combat range, allocate 1 damage to this unit after the damage sequence for that hero has been resolved. Ward rolls cannot be made for those damage points. That's fine. That's okay. These guys have 4 health. So for 400 points, you can have a unit of 6 of these guys running around with a Soul Reaper, smashing into enemy lines, getting +1 to hit, and fighting immediately after him, and then have a Saul Mason behind that, giving the Soul Reaper strike first. It's quite nice. It's quite nice. And you're basically giving that Soul Reaper a 5-up ward save. So that's quite good. Next up, we have the Stalkers. I wasn't impressed with these when I seen the faction focus. And obviously, points are going to dictate this. So the points for the Stalkers are 180 points for 3, which is a little... So it's okay. They're infantry. They've got a 6-up ward save, and obviously they've got 4-up health. They move 6, which is pretty fast for an undead unit. And they've got a health of 4 and control of 1. They've got Stalker Blades, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 rend, 1 damage, crit 2 hits. Now, on retrospect, now seeing the addition in its whole, that isn't that bad, to be completely fair. 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -2 rend, 1 damage. It's okay. Now, I would have expected them to have a few more additional attacks, but that's fine. 4 attacks is pretty solid when you come into the fact that you've got 3 of them. So it's about at least 4 dice coming out of that unit. Sorry, 12 dice. So they have any combat phase, so pick one of the following effects to apply for the rest of the turn. So you can subtract 3 from the control score of enemy units while they're wholly within combat range of this unit. Fine. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for combat attacks that target this unit. Pretty decent. Ward rolls cannot be made for damage points inflicted by this unit's combat attacks. That is so good. And then precision, this unit's weapons have anti-hero +1 rend while it fights a hero. Okay, so now on retrospective, seeing how the game plays better, these aren't actually as bad as I initially thought. They do look quite good now that I understand everything that's in that box. Bearing in mind that when I did the faction focuses, we didn't really know everything for the game and the nuances. But yeah, now playing the game, there's some pretty decent stuff there. Knocking off ward rolls, so good. Yeah, okay, that's pretty decent. Okay, next up we have the Mtech Crawler. Again, we've seen this in the faction focus, and the Mtech Crawlers are going to be coming in at 280 points for 1. Again, there is a battle formation that is going to increase this the hits by +1, but it has a 6-up ward, it has a health of 4, a movement of 5, a health of 12, and a control of 5. So its Dread Catapult is 24-inch range, 4 attacks, 4s followed by 2s, -1 rend, D3 +2, anti-infantry +1 rend, crit 2 hits. Now you can with the battle formation get that to a +1 hit, which is fine. And then melee weapons, if you ever get into combat, if these things ever get into combat, something has gone terribly wrong in your army. 6 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage, companion. Cool. And then in your shooting phase, you have Deadly Barrage. So pick an enemy unit that was targeted by this unit, shooting the target to be the target. Roll a dice. Add 1 to the roll if this unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Mtech Ossiarch, which you're probably going to do. And add 1 to the roll if any other friendly Mtech Crawlers units picked that enemy unit to be the target of this ability. And then on a 4+, the target strikes last. Obviously, you can bash that up to a 2+, and then get a strikes last. And so, if you look at some of the combos that we've looked at, you could potentially target a unit that your Liege Cavalos and your Death Rider is going to be targeting, giving them strike last, and you're getting to do your fight firsty stuff. You could even do it with your combo of your Soul Reaper and your Immort Guard, with the Soul Render leading them, and your Saul Mason giving that hero strike first. And then again, that unit then gets strike last. So yeah, there's some nice little combos that you can do with it. Are they worth the points though? Is it worth putting this in a formation just purely for this? I don't know. That's up to you. Next up, we have the Cavalos Death Riders, your cavalry unit that you'll want in your army. And they are coming in at 180 points for 5 models. Pretty decent. Now, they've got a 6-up ward. Obviously, they've got all of the command. They've got a 4-up save. They've got a movement of 10. They've got a health of 3 and a control of 1. They've got the Cavalos Blades, which is 3 attacks, 4 wound. Okay. +1 rend, +1 damage. Charge +1 damage, crit 2 hits. Okay. Pretty decent. Cavalos Steeds, same horsey profile. So they've then got the same ability that the 2 heroes have. So you've got if they charge, they can move over infantry units, and then they can do damage to the infantry units. That's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty solid. If you're going to go down the cavalry, you're going to obviously use a lot of these, plus the Cavalos Lieges, and you've got to be putting them in that formation as well. So yeah, pretty solid, and pretty nice models as well. Okay, next up we have the Harvesters. They're coming in at 200 and... Sorry, they're not coming in at 270 points. They're coming in at 230 points for 1 model. I almost read 2 models. I was like, what? That's amazing. Right, but they're not. They're a monster. They've got a 6-up ward. They've got a 4-up health save, movement of 6, health of 10, control of 5. And they've got the Death's Head Mor, which is a range of 12, 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage. And then melee weapons, Soul Crusher weapons, 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage, crit 2s, and then obviously the Who's, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. So these guys used to be really important to your army, because this was one of the ways that you used to be able to get your models back through the amount of damage that was inflicted. You could sort of, anything died around them, you used to pick up the bodies, throw them in the machine, and then pump out new Ossiarch Bonereapers out the back. So once per turn, any combat phase, Gruesome Surgery. Pick an enemy infantry unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll the d3, and on a 2+, inflict the amount of mortal damage to the target equal to the roll. And for each model slain by this ability, you can return 1 slain Mtech Guard unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Alright? So you're going to have Mtech Guard pretty much stood around these, and you're going to be able to pump out new guys into them. Passive ability, Bone Harvester. Each time an enemy model is in combat with this unit is slain, give this unit 1 Bone Tithe point. This unit can have a maximum of 6 Bone Tithe points. Then at the end of your turn, you're probably going to get to spend those Bone Tithe points. Pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Return a number of slain models to the target with a combined health characteristic equal to the number of Bone Tithe points this unit has. Then return the Bone Tithe points to 0. So, let's go that. Return a number of slain models to the target with a combined health characteristic equal to the number of Bone Tithe points in this unit. Alright. Then reset. So you can get 6. If you have 6 points, you can get 6 Mtech Guard back. Now, I would read that with a combined health characteristic equal to the number of Bone Tithe. So that you can potentially bring back Stalkers. If you have 4 or more Bone Tithe points, you're going to be able to bring back one of those guys with a combined health characteristic of 4, if you have 4 or more. I may be reading that wrong, but I'm sure someone will explain that slightly differently from how I've just read it. But yeah, not bad. You're probably going to want a couple of them in your army because, you know, the sustain that you're going to be able to bring back all of your stuff is kind of important. Okay, so next up we have the Margust Archai. These are pretty cool models. And these guys are coming in at 270 points for 2. So the infantry, they fly, the 6-up ward, they've got 3 save, movement of 10, 6 health each, and a control of 2. They're really quite nice. They're really big, chunky boys. They've got spirit weapons, 3 attacks, 3s, 2s, 2 rend, 3 damage, anti-monster, +1 rend, crit, 2 hits. Yeah, pretty solid. Passive, so they've got Ebon Wart armor. This unit has a ward save of 3+ against damage inflicted by spells, abilities, prayer abilities, and manifestations. Wow. If this unit makes a successful ward roll for this unit, and if this unit destroys an enemy manifestation, give this unit an arcane charger token. This unit cannot have more than 1 arcane charge token at once. Then in your hero phase, discharge armor. So if this unit has an arcane charge token, pick a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers wizard wholly within 12 inches of the target, remove this arcane charge token and add 1 to the casting rolls for the target for the rest of the turn. And that's nice. So you basically, if you get a successful ward roll, you get an arcane charge token, and then you can basically give a friendly wizard wholly within 12 inches +1 to cast. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So, yeah, I like that actually. Next up, we have the other part of this dual kit. Obviously, you buy this bottle kit and it comes up with 2 options. And these guys are the Harbingers, and they're 270 points for 2. And these are the dual wieldy versions. Again, they fly, they've got 6-up ward, they've got the same stat line as the other unit. They've got spirit weapons, which is the same, 3 attacks, 3s and 2s, -2 red, 3 damage, anti-monster. Cool. Now, they would have been kind of cool if these were, say, anti-infantry, and the other one was anti-monster. That kind of makes sense. So you're basically going to be paying, I mean, the points-wise for these are, the other guys are 270 points. These are 270 points. So basically, it's how you, which one, you want the big 2-hander or you want the dual weapons. And it's all going to base down onto what their rules are, basically. They're essentially the exact same, but it's just their rules. So rather than the arcane tokens and buffing your casting or your wizards, these guys are going to do something different. So once per turn, reaction, you declared a relentless discipline ability. Okay. This unit is affected by that relentless discipline ability as if it was wholly within range of the friendly hero. So these guys are going to get the relentless discipline abilities even if they were within range of the ability, which is kind of good. Passive. Add 1 to the number of dice rolls made for charge rolls for this unit to they've got a 3d6 charge roll. Yeah. Okay, the other rule was pretty cool with the casting and +1 to casting and the 3-up ward save against magic. But 3d6 charge is so good. Yeah, I'd be picking these guys. I'd probably have a nice big buffed unit of 4 of these. That is so solid. And then we have finally the piece of terrain feature, which is a huge piece of terrain for the army. The Bone Tithe Nexus. Faction terrain. It doesn't move, it doesn't control anything, it has 13 health, and it has a 4-up save. So it also has the core rules of cover and unstable, okay? So your hero phase, it has deadly gaze. So pick a visible enemy unit units within 18 inches of this terrain feature to be the target. Roll a dice. On a 4+, pick one of the following effects. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target until the start of the next turn. Subtract 1 from casting rolls and or chanting rolls for the target until the start of the next turn, and half the target's movement characteristic until the start of your next turn, and then inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. Right, so you're going to want this pretty far up into your territory, because it doesn't really do anything to you, but it does to your enemy. And it's got an 18-inch range, which is pretty decent. And it's pretty big as well, so it's pretty sizable. It's probably about a good, I'd say about 8 inches. 8-9 inches square. So it's a pretty sizable piece of terrain. And then you're going to be able to like get an 18-inch range off that as well. So you want to be deploying it quite far into your territory, and then you're going to be picking one of these things. Look, let's be completely honest. It doesn't have a ward save. It only has a 4-up save. It's going to be targeted. It's going to be targeted, and it's going to be killed because it's going to be a pain in the arse for your opponent. They're going to probably get it. Also, the bad thing is that you're going to want it pretty far up on the table, which also means that enemy units are going to be able to use that as a slingshot to charge it, pile in around it, and then basically get into you quicker. So you've also got to remember that as well. But it has a 4-up, it has 13 health. You know, it might stay around for maybe 1 or 2 rounds of combat. But you're still going to be able to do stuff. You can half movement characteristics. You can, you know, turn off castings, make castings and chanting rolls a little bit harder, and stuff like that. But you do need to roll a 4+ to make these effects. But yeah, not too bad. So that's the Ossiarch Bonereapers. Pretty solid faction, to be fair. Some really fun-looking things. Not as complicated as they used to be, and I quite like them. I remember when they first come out, I tried to play them. I played like 2 games with them, and the first time I tried to use the army, I actually had a migraine. My head actually hurt. I was like, oh no. Like they were so in depth, and there was so much going on. And it was the first real time that sort of AOS had the designers had really started like coming up with new fresh mechanics for armies, which was the discipline points, which was like their version of command points. So it was pretty decent. But all in all, pretty impressed with them, and they're beautiful models as well. So if you want an undead army that doesn't really play like an undead army, Ossiarch Bonereapers is definitely for you. But if you like what I do, please like, subscribe, share, and do all of that good stuff. And obviously, most importantly, subscribe. And you can check out my members and Patreons if you want to support me in other ways. And I'll catch you later, people. Goodbye.